Alright, so today I'm talking about The Evil Within, and this is definitely one of the more exciting ones for me to talk about because this was one of those games I, bought the day it came out and had been so excited for. I mean, from the moment they were like, Project Zwei, what is this hidden thing coming out? What is this called? And then finally they released the trailer for The Evil Within. I remember just watching the trailer like, holy shit, like, this looks like the horror game for me. Mind you, some context is, I had been playing Resident Evil and, Silent Hill, stuff like that since I was relatively young. And I do, I love survival horror games. Obviously, I like Resident Evil. I'm not gonna act like it's the best game ever made. I think it sadly kind of, changed the course of the games to be worse. But the game itself, is good and did a lot for the gaming industry. But, I really liked Resident Evil growing up. I mean, it was phenomenal. So to see the guy who basically made Resident Evil make his own studio and be like, yeah, I'm making a survival horror game, it's like, oh shit, okay, alright, I see you. And I know that from what I remember, at first he was like, I don't know if I really want to do that because they're kind of stale now. It's like, meh. But then after realizing that, people really wanted a horror game and and especially to come from him, he was like, okay, we'll try again, or I'll try for the first time with my new studio. And so then they came out with The Evil Within, and it kind of shocked me because when it came out, I virtually basically knew nobody in my life who had even heard of it or definitely never played it. And to this day, I only know like maybe one person, honestly, who's actually played it and knows what I'm talking about. Everyone else, it's like, I don't even know what that is, sadly. But because I re-looked at the reviews and I was kind of shocked, like, oh, it was like mid-70s to low 70s. Like, oh, what? Like, really? Because the game came out in 2014 and there wasn't really, like, I mean, I guess you could say, like Outlast was coming out and stuff, but I thought it, it's weird to me that I think it did a phenomenal job. And for it to get, I thought it would at least get like an 85. So it kind of shocked me as being so low. Like, I can keep replaying the game and still have fun with it, all the DLC and all that. I think they did a wonderful job because I'll get into the game now. The game feels like Resident Evil 4 and 5. But also, can play out more like 6, where you can't necessarily dodge roll, but, you can move while shooting. That's the big key thing where it's like, well, artificially stopping someone while they shoot, because in real life, just when you're trying to shoot, you don't stop moving. Does it make you a better shot? Sure, I guess, but overall, like, people can shoot while they're moving. So that's a nice gameplay thing. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why people hated it so much. Because I will say my one biggest gripe with the game is it pulls a Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is really, really spooky. Up until a certain point where it just becomes, hey, kill guys with guns and who can use guns, or just like regular army guys under control. Hey, stop this guy on a turret. Oh, here's these other guys with guns and all kinds of stuff. It's like, well, to me it becomes very action-y. Like, they were too scared, like, hey, like, maybe we can't make the whole game just flat out survival horror because people need some action. And The Evil Within, I remember the first time I played it, even replaying it just now, the gripe I have is it gets to a certain point when you're like, well, it's becoming more action-y. doesn't feel survival horror. Obviously, you start going outside in the daylight and stuff like that, and it doesn't feel as spooky. Now, mind you, they start having like some creepy things, like a Junji Ito looking ginormous humanoid spider monster chase you throughout the city, which is spooky, but also feels like this, super action thing. There's also these fishes that lurk in the water, and you have to perfectly shoot the bodies hanging to feed the fish so you can swim away. I do like that aspect of, it feels very tense. But to me, it had just started getting more actiony and, less like that survival horror feeling. And I kind of hated that because, clearly seeing the remake for Resident Evil 2 and stuff, it's like, hey, you can do that, like survival horror throughout the whole game, and trust me, like, it's fine. But, even going through the story, I know the game's been out almost like 10 years. Or actually, I think it has been 10 years. It's either 10 years this year or next year. But I don't want to spoil too much, even though it's like, hey, if you haven't played it in a decade, you're probably never going to play it. But you basically play a detective, Sebastian Castellanos, who is investigating murders at a asylum, basically a mental hospital, and you get transported to a different world, you could say, a nightmare world, and have to figure out why you're there, how you're there, what's going on, what's all the mystery. And this game does a good job of not just flat out exposition telling you where it's like, eye rolling, like, sit down and tell me the whole story. You pick up, you play some audio logs, you see like hallucinations, basically, almost like a hologram. You get notes. Like, the story is there for you to, like, it gives you the opportunity to not handhold and actually kind of get more into the lore. And I think it does a good job. I like the story, and the DLC adds so much more to the story because one of your quote-unquote rookie cops, Kidman, the DLC, you can play as her, and it kind of fleshes out her story and sets up Evil Within 2. And then you can also play as the Keeper, which is the guy with the giant vault safe on his head, as his head. And I liked that, a DLC where it's, hey, you get to play as the monster. And so I think honestly the story is really good. I think, I cared about his character, and the voice acting, everything was good. It was too weird to me that they replaced his voice actor for 2, because I think the first guy just had such a cool voice. But yeah, I mean, that's about all I want to say for the story, just so I don't accidentally spoil anything. But gameplay wise, yeah, it's your standard. You can aim and walk, you shoot, melee, you can have various guns, you can pick up melee objects, but you can only have one at a time. Like, if you have an axe, you can get a little hatchet. You can only have one hatchet. You can't carry more than one hatchet. And you pick up a chainsaw at one point, but it's just to get to the next level. It's not a weapon you can use. You have your standard revolver, pistol, shotgun, rifle, assault rifle, and then there's the Agony crossbow, which to me was an interesting thing. And I feel like games probably do this, but it was interesting to see in a survival horror game. Like, it's a giant crossbow that you can shoot all kinds of different bolts from. Explosive, shock, just your regular one, ice. And so it's a fun thing, because I felt like I didn't really use the Agony crossbow too much, but when I did, it was for the good moments. I mean, I'm using it for crowd control. When I'm fighting a boss and I'm low on ammo, I'd make especially the shock bolts, because there's I can't remember her name. I almost want to say it's Laura, but the bloody grudge lady with the multiple arms, you can shock her and it stops her in a movement, and so you can kind of give some time to run away, burn a body to make her go away, or pick up some fire. So it's a really cool weapon system that really can like change the way you play the game. Now, mind you, everything else is just about, you know, your standard, oh, your shotgun, stuff like that. I will say, I couldn't find it on PC. But when I had pre-ordered the game on Xbox 360 when it came out, my pre-order came with an exclusive weapon where it was a sawn-off double-barrel shotgun, which was OP as fuck. I can't seem to... I need to look into it to see if I can somehow unlock that for PC, because I love that gun, and I wish I could somehow get it on PC. OP as fuck, but yeah, awesome. In the game, different from Resident Evil 4, is you can actually upgrade your character, which I always like. You know, they do a good job of... It's not necessarily a skill tree. I mean, you can... I guess you could say it's skill tree. You basically, every time you kill an enemy, or sometimes you might find it just in a jar, you get green gel, which is basically, you know, like a brain gel thing. And you can upgrade your character, Sebastian, or your weapons, or your stock. And by stock, I mean how much of what can you carry. So with Sebastian, you can upgrade how long he can sprint, because there's stamina in this game, which is such a both annoying thing, but makes it's understandable for a survival horror game. Upgrade how long he can run, how much health you have, your melee damage, strength, and then you can, you know, hey, how much pistol ammo can you carry? How many agony bolts can you carry? But then it's also, how much strength does your bullets do? How fast can you fire? How fast does your reload? Mind you, that's something that kind of pisses me off with this and even Resident Evil 4. It's like, how fast I can reload. I have to pay money. Like, obviously I can believe, hey, I'm paying a gunsmith to upgrade, you know, I'm paying the merchant to upgrade my gun, cool. But I'm paying the merchant for me to reload my gun faster? Like, buddy, it should just be, like, the more you do it, the faster, you know, like a Skyrim thing, like, hey, the more you do it, the faster it upgrades. But yeah, it's you know, whatever. I never put points into fast reloading, because it's like, all I gotta do is up the fire rate, up the damage, and I'm fine, because, you know, switching weapons is faster than reloading. So I always just do that. But I do like the concept of upgrading, and the upgrade like gimmick is so cool how they introduce it. And, you know, throughout the game you can find these keys to unlock little safes in the safe area you're in to get, you know, more ammo, more brain gel, stuff like that. So there's so many little things in the game to do that I do believe the replay value is there. There's a new Game Plus mode. You know, you unlock the rocket launcher and the assault rifle. I plan on running through it again and doing all the DLCs again, because I recently went through the game once. I have not played the DLC in a minute, so I need to run through all that. And yeah, I don't know why people won't necessarily give this game a chance. It's such a good game, you know. It's just good. Like, it's spooky, it's tense. You know, I mean, even replaying it, I had the lights off and everything. I was like, damn, this is still getting me 10 years later. Most games don't do that, but man, I feel like some fear. Like, ooh, and that's just, you know, it's just a video game. So, yeah, I mean, what more can I say? You know, it's a good game in my opinion. I love it. I can't believe it's already, you know, basically 10 years old. But I strongly recommend people playing it. It's always on sale and stuff on PC. And it's just like, give it a chance. Like, you know, it's so crazy to me, these people who don't ever give, like, oh, well, I don't like games like that, so I'll never try it. It's like, I mean, that used to be me, but I play all kinds of games now because I'm curious. Like, I'm just curious to see, you know. And I think people would really enjoy a game like this. So, I guess that'll be it for this video. I know I kind of went off on just, like, all kinds of rants, but hey, as always, thanks for watching these videos. I'm out.